Hey everyone, this is Eric coming from Kansas again. So I want to go through this Mittleider Gardening Course Book that I'm basing all of our gardening on at our home. And this Mittleider method was developed by Dr. Jacob Mittleider. And this book was developed by Dr. Mittleider and also James B. Kennard. And if you look these names up on YouTube and many other places, they should pop up, and you'll find multiple. You'll find out where to buy this book at, probably multiple places, and all the other stuff that they talk about in terms of, you'll just find lots of information about him. You should, anyway. So, I bought this book from LDS Prepper. I think I mentioned that before. He actually signed it because I bought it from him. Appreciate that, LDS Prepper. If you ever see this. And by the way, I'm not getting paid by anybody for this. I'm just wanted to help you out and go through this book I'm using here and show you why this basically goes over why the things I'm doing what I'm doing based on this book. And when I found this method, it really lined up with my engineering mentality. It's got everything laid out. It's very systematic. Gives you lots of detailed information on how to do this and how to do that. There's still a lot of guesswork in things like when to harvest, what, like, not like timelines, but when to harvest, as in what things should look like, and just, I guess you'd call it carnal knowledge of plants in general. But in terms of building things and timelines on when to plant and when to harvest and things like that, and how to mix this and how to mix that, why things work the way they do, what nutrients plants need. It's very detailed, and it goes through a lot of the things that Dr. Mittleider learned over many years. So there's a little background on Dr. Mittleider, a little preface there, and goes over, some reasons why this method was developed. And then we have table of contents. So how to use this course. It's got an introduction, why this method does the things that it does. And then it goes into, basics of soils. And then we get into, let's see. Okay, no, sorry. Part two, it says there's two main parts of this book after the introduction. There's doing this method in a soil bed, so like no grow boxes at all, just building up a soil bed and using that. And it's the most cost-effective way if you have nice flat ground to work with. I do not. I have a very sloped backyard and pretty much a lot of sloping to my front yard and side yard. So I'm not using the soil bed, but everything in here is exactly the same as what's in part 3, which is grow box basics versus soil bed. It's just this grow box basics part 3 goes through how to build the grow boxes versus using a soil bed. But and in the grow box, you can put in your own custom soil versus the soil bed. You use the soil in the ground as your soil, obviously. So I'm using grow boxes because I have a sloped yard. So goes through the planting the grow box, preparing, planting. It goes through when to fertilize it before you put the soil in and after you put the soil in, and how to plant seeds, how to plant seedlings, the spacing of everything for each type of plant, or the most type of plants anyway, fertilizing, box weeding, harvesting. So there's lots of details in here. And I forgot to mention that this method is a mix of, I turn to this page in the introduction here, it is a combined, it says it combines the best features of soil gardening and hydroponic gardening. So if you know what hydroponic gardening is, it's basically using no soil and just fertilizer to grow your food, but without the hydroponic expense. So most hydroponic systems, they use a lot of water, and they flow water through a system. Some don't. Some just let water sit. I think you might have to change it out every now and then. But anyway, yeah, limits guesswork and all this other good stuff. So I looked into hydroponics, but I guess it didn't entice me a whole lot, and just continuing to use planting stuff in the actual soil was more appealing to me. So that's another reason why I went this way. The next part of this is the part 4 is Mittleider Advanced Topics. So this goes through some more details that aren't covered in the basics in part 2 and 3. So caring for climbing plants. So it tells you how. So it tells you how to build a grow box, but then it also, if you have climbing plants, it tells you how to build a structure for the climbing plants to climb up. And you've seen that in a previous video, hopefully, and I'll be going through some more details of as I continue to construct that and plant plants in it, in that bed that we did that with. Automated watering, understanding fertilizers. So this has a big section on understanding fertilizers, how fertilizers are sold, the 13 nutrients that go into. So there's air, water, and sunlight, and then there's 13 other minerals that go into your fertilizer. So there's the NPK, there's nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Those three big ones that you always hear about, and then there's also 10 others. And I think if I turn the right page, let's see, don't let this video get too long. Yeah, so this section here in the advanced topics section. So I guess this talks about nutritional deficiencies, but it goes through the deficiencies that you see with nitrogen deficiency, phosphorus deficiency, potassium, calcium, magnesium, boron, iron, molybdenum, sulfur, manganese, copper, zinc, and chlorine. So if your plants are not getting all of these minerals, and here's a table of them all here, and the amount that's the concentration in the fertilizer that they tell you to make for this gardening method. If your plant doesn't have all of these nutrients, it's not going to get a top yield. So a lot of people just concentrate on the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium for even just growing grass. But if any of your plants don't have all of these minerals, to some degree, they will not have top yields, and you will get something less than actually the plant is looking for or the plant can do. So and also, one benefit is, another big thing that I've come to realize is, there's lots of places that sell supplements for your diet. And that's a big thing these days, because a lot of places that are depleting the soil of all the nutrients because of all you know, big farming that's done these days, and other such things going on that are not natural, I guess you'd say. But if your plants aren't ingesting these minerals, if these are not in the soil that your plants are growing in, then you are not getting these nutrients also, and that's why supplements are a big deal these days, because people realize they aren't getting these nutrients. So yes, I may be buying something that is not, maybe sustainable, you'd say, in terms of just using horse manure and cow manure, but you don't know what's in that horse manure and cow manure or compost from your food exactly, and you're not sure if you're getting these nutrients. And so that's another way that we are supplementing our diet with the proper nutrients that our bodies need, is fertilizing our gardens with a fertilizer that I know has all of these minerals in it. So I thought I'd add that in this video here, but that's kind of a side note. But anyway, I'll go through some more advanced topics here as we get a little longer in the video. But yeah, nutritional deficiencies, problem soils, destructive insects, common diseases, seedling production. So that's what I'm doing up here, producing seedlings before we plant them outside. Tell you how to do that, and this is where it tells you how to build those flats for the seedlings you saw there. Cold weather gardening, so it tells you how to build mini greenhouses over your grow boxes, if you have grow boxes, or some people call them hoop houses, and I have a few of those built that you've seen in some previous videos, hopefully. Or there's also plans in here to build a complete greenhouse if you wanted to. Now there's endless ways to build greenhouses, but there's one example in this book, so it's at least you have something in this book to grow off of. Cold weather, let's see, cold weather gardening, building greenhouse, yeah. So, and then we got some tables and forms here, and then I really like this reference tables for planning. So I've got these bookmarked all the time back here, so these are really cool back here. And another big reason why I really like this book. Sorry about that. So this is has tables in here for yields, plant hardiness tables and planting times, transplanting planting guide, fertilizer applications, gardening planting details. So anyway, here's some of these tables. So yields for common garden crops. And it has, if you follow this exact method, this is what you should get in terms of yields or thereabouts. So bush beans, pole beans, you can see a big difference there because the bush beans don't grow as high. The pole beans do, and therefore they capture a lot more sunlight and get a lot more production. Anyway, it keeps going down. Beets, cabbage, cauliflower, cucumbers, eggplant. There's all these different common types of vegetables that you would grow in your garden, and the yields, the number of plants you would plant in a 30-foot grow box, days to maturity, number of weeks you would harvest after that maturity. And then this next table is plant hardiness, planting time. So it tells you exactly when to plant it, either indoors as a seedling or outdoors. And some plants you make as seedlings. Some plants, they only want you to plant as seeds because it doesn't make sense to do a seedling inside. It tells you their frost sensitivity or hardiness. And it's the exact same plants here in alphabetical order. You can see there, bush bean, pole beans, so on and so forth. The next table is still the same list of plants. And this is whether you plant it as a seed or seedling, the spacing, rows per bed, planting depth, plant height when it grows to maturity. And then here is the fertilizing application schedule. So once you plant these bush beans in the ground, you fertilize them with the weekly fertilizer, which they tell you how to make in here. 5 to 6 weeks, and then you stop, allow them to mature, and then harvest them. And then pole beans, you can see, since you get a lot more production out of them, you do it 10 to 12 weeks. But these bush beans, they mature in 5 to 6. Well, they mature in less time, and you get less production. But you can plant them. You can do 2 plantings per year, so you have to keep that in mind also. So you look at the bush beans, you may only get it says 68 pounds of green beans in a 30-foot box, but if you do it twice per year, you get 140 pounds approximately. Okay, sorry, I got distracted there. So yeah, I really enjoy these tables. These have been very informative to me and helped me plan out a lot of what we're doing. And there's more tables back here. This is a consolidated table of all those tables I just showed you. So anyway, I think that kind of rounds that. Here's some DIY workshop. Here's some, I told you how to build the fertilizer in here. More about how growing grow boxes. Yeah. Oh, mini A-frame jig. This is a jig to tell you how to build the hoop houses for your little greenhouses over your grow boxes. That's pretty cool. So anyway, I wanted to show you that here today. And the fertilizer that I use, I keep in this container here. It's mainly a mixture of, it's clumpy. This is my first try at it. I didn't do a great job. I should have added some perlite to keep it from clumping. I have to go in here and get the clumps removed before I use it. But this is most of it is the NPK fertilizer, 13-13-13, and you'll know what that is if you start reading this book and look at buying fertilizers. But let's see here. So it's that 13-13-13, and then there's a micronutrient mix that you can buy from LDS Prepper, or you can buy from some other places that follow the Mittleider method. But that's what's in here, and it's about 30 pounds worth, and I've used maybe a third to half of it last year in those few beds that we had last year. So that's what that looks like. So you can see some little green specks in here. That's probably the copper that's in here, but there's many other minerals in there as well. And most of the stuff in the fertilizer, is basically rocks. Nitrogen, you have to get that from, natural gas or maybe some other sources. But really the phosphorus and the potassium, the copper, the molybdenum, sulfur, it's just all elements, minerals that comes from the ground. So all of that is really organic if you think about it. Let's see here. So this is another fertilizer they want you to make. It's called the pre-plant fertilizer. I just kind of marked on my box here. This is a mixture of it's a dolomite limestone, along with some other stuff. I can't remember what it is, but that's dolomite limestone is the main mixture in here. So that there's less of this right now because I'm using this just for when you plant seedlings, or when you before you till the soil in your grow boxes, and then you don't use it after that. You use the weekly mix. So those are the two fertilizers that I'm working with right now. And I think when you transplant seedlings, they might say that you use a nitrogen only fertilizer, but I've got some of that. I haven't used it yet though. Anyway, that's this book. Video went a little longer than I wanted, but I hope that was helpful on what is going on here and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I encourage you to buy this book. And if you don't even follow this method, just the tables in the back and some of the other information, these tables that I'm using in the back here are just fantastic and really help me out a lot understanding how exactly to do all the planting and all the growing. So appreciate you watching. Grace and peace be with you. Bye for now.